The antidotes to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are to complain without blame, to take responsibility, build a culture of appreciation in your relationship, and learn how to self-soothe. So complaining without blame involves making specific requests of your partner without demanding. Remember the I statement from earlier? You can express your feelings and point to the desired behaviour, but it's important that you own how you feel, rather than blaming your partner for how you feel. When you start blaming your partner, it invites him or her to become defensive, and unfortunately the result for you is that they won't respond to your needs, and therefore your needs will most likely go unmet. Blaming might sound something like, "I told you Mum doesn't like us to turn up late, and now she's pissed off because you couldn't get ready on time." The word "you" is used a lot. If I look into my crystal ball and predict how his partner will react, I can almost guarantee it will be defensively. For example, she might say, "Stop pressuring me. Sunday is my only day off, and if I want to sleep in, I can." So you can see that the couple are no closer to resolving this conflict. What I recommend instead of blaming is to let your partner know what hurt you without attacking them. So choose a time when things are calm and say to your partner, "When we turn up late to Mum's, I feel guilty because she's very particular about time. I would really like it if we could try to please her by getting there on time." When your partner responds, validate the things that make sense to you, rather than focusing on that little thing that didn't make sense and running away with that, because that will just invite an argument. So in this example, try to understand it's her only day off and she doesn't want to feel pressured to please your mother. Talk about both your positions and see if you can reach a compromise. Active listening actually really helps with this sort of discussion. What's really important here is having the right attitude that shows you're open to feedback. Your partner will pick up on that and be more likely to respond favourably. Be quick to take responsibility for your part in what's happened. Instead of being defensive, ask yourself, is my partner helping me grow by pointing out a blind spot I've missed? What can I learn from what's happening between us? By having that attitude and being open to feedback and self-reflection, you're giving yourself the opportunity to grow, and you're also leading by example. If you allow yourself to feel like a victim and make out that your partner is the problem, you'll create a negative atmosphere where your partner feels like he can't get through to you and you act as though you're always in the right. And that's a very, very dangerous pattern to fall into, because your partner will end up feeling like he can never do anything right, and you will close yourself to self-reflection and risk becoming self-righteous. It's really important to always ask yourself, what's my part in what's happening between us? Remember, it takes 5 positive statements to offset 1 negative statement. So it's important also to have an attitude of appreciation in your relationship and notice the good things about your partner. If you have lost sight of what these things are, sit down quietly when you're alone and write a list. Try to come up with at least 10 specific things. For example, instead of saying, "Oh, she's a good mother," write down what it is that makes her a good mother. For example, she might be reliable, fun, responsible, attentive, etc., etc. There's many different qualities that you might find. Write them all down, and then once a day for a week, tell her something from the list that you appreciate about her. If you want to shift the atmosphere of the relationship, it's going to take daily, consistent effort to build a culture of appreciation. The last antidote to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse is a very important one called self-soothing. And what this means is having the ability to regulate your emotions. This is closely related to what we discussed before about taking responsibility. Because people who don't take responsibility for how they feel expect other people to manage their emotions. They say things like, "If you didn't take so long to get ready, I wouldn't be so impatient." Or, if you didn't leave a mess on the kitchen bench, I wouldn't feel angry every morning. They expect other people to change their behaviour so they can feel better. When people tell me they can't help how they express their emotions, I ask them to think about their workplace, for example. When their boss does something that they don't particularly like, do they yell at the boss or speak to her inappropriately? Likewise, if you're pulled over by, say, a policeman, can you manage how you respond to them? Because if you can manage your emotional reactions in one context, then you can do so in another context as well. You're just choosing not to. And once you see it like this, you realise you do have a choice and can choose how you express your emotions. To me, self-soothing is the difference between reacting and responding to situations you're presented with. I call reacting when you respond from that emotional place without thinking about what you're doing and saying. You might say things that you don't really mean, using an inappropriate volume and maybe even a hurtful tone of voice. Reacting usually leads to regret because you've presented yourself in an unfavourable way and usually unnecessarily hurt your partner in the process. An example might be if your partner asks, "Did you clean the fridge?" and you reply, "Who am I, your bloody servant? Leave me alone." This sort of reaction can increase distance between you and lead to misunderstanding and disconnection. In contrast, responding is about listening to what your partner says as well as listening to your internal reaction and then speaking from a place of honesty. So using that same example from before when your partner asks, "Did you clean the fridge?" you might feel frustrated and think, "I'm reacting like this because I feel pressured." Then you can reply to your partner, "I've got so much on my plate at the moment that when I'm asked to clean the fridge, I feel pressured. I don't want to let you down, but I also feel exhausted." This might open discussion about what both parties' needs are and whether there's a compromise that can meet both of those needs.